So here, let's do this. Let's jump right over to the next bit. We have a tweet from Mr. Count Dankula.
Oh yeah.
Count Dankula is awesome, by the way. I hope you guys follow him. He says Twitter just did a mass banning of parody accounts that make fun of far left rhetoric, but none of the accounts that mock right wing rhetoric. So first, this was before all this went down. Pro-Trump pundit permanently suspended from Twitter. The conservative pundit Bill Mitchell has been permanently suspended from the social media platform, and this is confirmed to The Hill. Mitchell has been permanently suspended for violating the Twitter rules by using one account to evade the suspension of another account, a Twitter spokesperson said in an email. Mitchell confirmed the suspension in a post on social media app Parler, though he asserted he was booted from Twitter over his stance on wearing a mask amid the coronavirus pandemic. Twitter just suspended me for opposing masks. Who knows if I'll ever be back, Mitchell said. I'm sure the decision wasn't political at all. I have a quick question for you. You run a company, so I'm sure you have a legal department. If you accused somebody of doing a thing for which you banned them and it was not true, you clearly face legal liability, right? Like if you said, we banned Tim Pool for manipulating the platform with multiple accounts and I didn't do that, you're lying. It's like slander, libel, defamation.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into some of the Patreon lawsuit.
Well, I mean,
why is that getting no attention?
The Patreon lawsuit?
Yeah.
I think we're waiting for updates.
I've seen not a single major article about that.
This is bad news for Patreon.
Yeah.
Because they're based in California.
I mean, not a single mainstream article about it.
Of course, it's Silicon Valley. They're in trouble. It's their own rules, you know?
Yeah.
Well, but we'll see when there was the Daily Dot covered it. For those that aren't familiar with what happened, Patreon got sued. There was a request for arbitration because they banned people. Then they sued those people trying to stop this because they would have to front millions of dollars. They lost the suit and have to front millions of dollars. And now because of this, it sparked a big wave of attention. It was a huge mistake, stress in effect. They're getting a wave of people like Sargon, Lauren Southern, a couple other people. All of their fans are now going after Patreon. Patreon's going to have to front, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, who knows how many millions. But the reason I asked you this specifically is Twitter likes to play these games, in my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not. When they suspend people and say something like, this person was using multiple accounts. But if they're not really, like how do we know? How do we know that's true? I want to see proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there would be grounds for legal action, and that's why you need to provide a path to redemption. And that's why we rolled out the jury system, to keep ourselves in check in case we make mistakes. People can appeal it to the jury on Minds, and it's just like you make mistakes, but there's no talking to a human at Twitter or Facebook when you get banned.
I mean, for some people there is.
For some people,
yeah. Yep. If you are wealthy, successful, famous, you're a big media company, you pick up that phone, no problem.
Or your friend's a moderator.
Yep. Yeah. And
it is that incestuous.
That's weird.
So, Jack actually talked about a path to redemption, Jack Dorsey of Twitter, a long time ago. Because the way it's explained, right? Let's say you're on Twitter. People use this to connect with politicians, their local council, things like this. And you say a naughty word that you didn't realize was a bad word, like #learn-to-code or something. Now you're banned forever. You can never open a new account. You can never use the platform again. That's like a digital death sentence for a minor infraction. So, Jack Dorsey's talked about a path to redemption. They've never done anything. Not that I know of. You guys have a jury system on Minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that do?
Yeah. Basically, if you get tagged or flagged NSFW and you think that it was wrong, then it goes to a randomized group of 12 active users. We are thinking about expanding that number to make it a little bit less, to make there less potential for abuse. But it goes to 12 active users, they vote, and it can get overturned, and you can go and check the analytics. And we've made some mistakes, but people got back.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember around the time you implement it, there were people accusing you of bias for banning them.
They didn't even get banned. They got flagged NSFW because something, and
go.
then but you can't even get banned for posting NSFW content on Minds. You can get your channel marked, which we want NSFW content, but we need to be able to put blurs in order to have that so that people who don't want to see that aren't seeing it. Anyway, I did a live stream with this one guy, Acts 17 Apologetic YouTube channel, and he criticizes Islam, and he said, he was sensational on purpose when it happened, and he sort of knew, and he said he was going to come back, and it was cool. But, I understand people are sensitive, like especially for platforms who say that they're free speech focused, and then for bannings to happen, like that's definitely scary. So straight up, if something happens to you on Minds, or someone on their channel has happened, just email info@minds.com. We'll work it out. We'll try to figure it out.
I get emails all the time from people. They're like, Tim, you complain about censorship. Why won't you promote Minds and BitChute? And I'm like, I promote Minds. I went, well, Bill's here now, so Bill, promote Minds. Yeah, the jury system I think was really, really smart. I remember when you told me you were rolling it out. This way, if something happens, it's like it was on 12 random users, not necessarily you guys.
And the mandate is to vote with the First Amendment based policy, not to just vote on your opinion. Yeah. So,
but I'm sure a lot of people.
Some people can try to game it, and that's probably happening. But you just have to make a good faith effort. This
is why I think you should expand it to a lot more people.
How many?
I don't know, 100, 1,000, depends on how many active users you can pester. You know what I mean? But, the thing is, what happens if it's just a bad day and you get 6 random bad people? It's a lot easier to get bad people when you have a smaller pool. It's much easier to avoid that. But there's a couple other things I want to highlight real quick, too, so we can talk more about this. The Daily Caller reported the Babylon Bee. So this is in line with what Count Dankula was saying. Channels that mock the left, and I mean the Babylon Bee is general satire and parody. It's not even necessarily just targeting left, though it kind of is.
They're technically a Christian site.
Right. Yeah. And then we have Kyle Mann. He confirmed it for spam and manipulation, and that's really, really weird. But they were brought back. They say, we're back. Twitter destroyed our headquarters with a drone strike, but we are being assured it was an honest mistake. I love it. It's fantastic. Yeah. So we also have Titania McGrath. Check this out. Are you familiar with Titania?
Titania? I always thought it was Titania.
It's Titania.
Titania.
Yeah, named for, who's it named for? The fairy queen?
Queen of the Fairies,
the Queen of the Fairies.
Yeah, didn't you say that a bookstore just mistakenly?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
That was so good. So Titania is locked now. You've got to click accept. Actually, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if Titania actually has the photo of the bookstore, but there is. Yeah. Okay.
That was James.
Yeah, it was because they got locked out. James Lindsay posted it. Here's Andrew Doyle, who runs it. He says, it looks as though it was Titania McGrath's thread about medical science that got her locked out of Twitter. All I was doing was satirizing the tortious logic of critical theory and how it promotes dangerous ideas in the name of social justice. How is that worthy of a ban? Because they've banned a bunch of parody accounts, it would seem. Like they're going after them. You know what I think it is? For the longest time, the meme was, quote, the left can't meme. All of a sudden now there's a Reddit forum called The Right Can't Meme, and it mocks these fake memes that, like, just not real. Like somebody's purposely making bad memes that attack the left to blame the right, when an MIT Technology Review story and study found that the Donald and 4chan were the most prolific generators of memes. Yet, all of a sudden now it's being reversed. So they're banning right-wing parody accounts.
Satire is crucial, man. I'll die without it.
Well, you know what some people say is that ridicule is one of the most effective weapons.
Dude, there's no point to the internet without comedy.
I mean, I guess commerce.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I can order my underwear off Amazon, but no jokes. That's too far. Yeah, well, go ahead.
So do you think this is just the next step in their prep for November? Do you think that if we remove a little bit, do you think people will stop noticing that the comedy is only coming from the right if they nuke some of these satire sites? And why did they let the Babylon Bee back up, do you think? Because I really don't know.
I mean, it's just arbitrary, it seems. And there's no consistency, so we have no idea what's going on. And, Tim knows better than anybody. I mean, he grilled them himself. And
oh yeah, I'd love round 2.
We need round 2.
Yeah, seriously.
What follow-up was there? A single thing?
Periodically, like I'll have a conversation with Jack, and he just, he's like I don't know how to describe it. He's just abusive, He whispers all these sweet nothings into your ear. He massages your shoulders.
Emotionally abusive.
And he's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna fix the platform. Come on, just come back. I won't suspend you again. I won't ban your friends. I won't shut you down.
I won't hurt
It was
you,
a
baby.
mistake. It was a mistake. I promise. Every single time.
But the policy hasn't changed.
Nothing's changed. It's gotten worse. Now they're trying to ban, satire. I think we have a hysteria problem in this country. That's where I think it's coming from. I think it has to do with the algorithms. I think the algorithms, it's really funny that we started seeing this phenomenon, and maybe you know more about this than I do, where it polarized everybody. So all of a sudden, there was no middle ground anymore. It was all either super left or super right. Then they banned all of the far right. So now everyone kind of moved over to a center right position. They don't want to get banned. So it's far left and center right.
Yep. They are engineering polarization, radicalization, extremism. And I think they know it because there's data scientists who work there, and there's dozens of studies about how censorship increases violence, increases radicalization. So they act like they're being moral crusaders, but they are creating extremists. And now I'll, keep myself in check and say, obviously people can get radicalized on social media, and people do get, whether it's Islamic propaganda, and whatever
Far left,
it is,
far
KKK.
right. Yeah.
But you need the open forum in order to give people. No one is changing their mind if you kick them off. It's not happening.
Right.
They will never change. So that's pretty much the end of the argument.
Yeah.
They can't ever get better. So you have to think of it more from like a mental health perspective. I don't know, man. They're so powerful, and they know this information.
Then they're doing it on purpose.
They're doing it on purpose.
So what is it? They're trying to win an election?
But yeah. And like the weird thing is, if you look at Google or Twitter, because they have different policies in different countries. So, the Twitter policy in Pakistan is totally different. It's way more restrictive than the Twitter policy in the US. And, they're all like, oh, well, we won't go into China. Google won't buckle for China, but Google is buckling for all of these other countries with super oppressive laws. So it's just, and Google search has totally different censorship policies than YouTube. And it's like, what are you guys doing?
I'm censored on Google. My main channels, you cannot Google search. This channel, however, you can.
Yes.
It's almost like it was on purpose that we made a new channel.
Oh, weird.
If you search for Timcast, like my actual channel, you can take, this is the craziest thing, you can take the full title of any one of my main channel videos from youtube.com/Timcast, put the URL in Google, and Facebook comes up. Because I upload also to Facebook, the Facebook URL gets displayed on Google, not YouTube. Now, how does that make sense? Maybe now they're going to be like, there's no trust problem here. You don't need to break up the company. See, we're promoting a competitor. Yeah, through search. Yeah, Timcast News and Timcast won't appear. Timcast IRL does. And this happened to a lot of other channels around the time we all started getting smeared. The left, in my opinion, I think many of these people in media know full well exactly what's going on. There's a radicalization initially, I think because of Facebook, a radicalization in both directions. But there's very few like real, quote unquote far right people in the U.S. It's in the, thousands out of millions.
And I noticed one of the things that happens when you start to isolate all the right-wing people is that they just find the little corners that make them happy, and they go off and find people who think just like them. And that's dangerous. Like, I really don't like the idea of pushing someone off a public platform so they can go find people who think just like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care about the internet. The internet is...
Wait, who's they? The extremists?
The big tech censorship platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think of the internet as a community. It's not... I mean, it's a finite space. So they know what's going on, and they're just playing games. And honestly, they will probably... I feel like inevitably the data is going to prove this, that they're engineering radicalization.
On purpose? Or accidentally?
Maybe some people on purpose, maybe not. I don't want to speculate about like how malicious it is. Maybe they're doing it with good intentions, but just and the people making decisions don't have an understanding of the data, or maybe they're too scared to face it. Like, what would it be like if Facebook and YouTube just suddenly started allowing like super radical content with the understanding that, like, put it this way, you take 50,000 content moderators that each of these companies have. Instead of having them just go ban crazy every day, have them actually be reaching out to people and talking to people and like engaging in conversation. Guess what? It takes 10 years to de-radicalize somebody. But
is that a study confirmed 10 years or something?
Oh, no. Well, I mean,
Or are you just giving hypothetical?
I mean, Daryl Davis
Yeah.
would say that it takes years. I mean, I don't think that there's a set amount of time. It probably could be faster or slower for different people. But just imagine like tens of thousands of moderators actually trying to help people.
What's interesting is the more extreme ban happy platforms, I feel like, make huge mistakes. They lose all leverage. You know, there was you're familiar with Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah, of course.
He's for those that aren't, I assume many of you are. He's a YouTube commentator, and he spoke on a stream, you know, like early 2018 or something. It was a small channel. He ironically used the N-word to make a point about people he thought were racist. And so a year later, like nine months later, somebody shows that in the middle of a 2-hour, you know, live stream in a small channel with only a few thousand views. Patreon nukes him instantly. And I was like, if Patreon just gave him a warning, then they could have been like, hey, don't do it again. Sargon would have been like, okay. And that would have been it. He'd be like, oh yeah, I was just trying to make a point. I get it. I won't do it. Instead, they terminated his income. And so when I was, you know, talking to the company, to Patreon, I'm like, why would you do that? It's counterproductive. You're guaranteeing these people can only go in one direction. You know, my thing is like, if someone is behaving in a certain way, what Twitter is doing is actually kind of scary. It's social manipulation. It's mass social engineering. They tell people, here's what is and isn't acceptable. And then the scared people who don't want to lose their followers fall in line and won't say naughty things. I got no problem tweeting articles from Dr. Harvey Risch, MD, PhD of Yale, when he, you know, when he talks well of hydroxychloroquine. And I've done several videos on that stuff. And I know that's a ban hammer. But I have a line, you know what I mean? I'm not going to let them keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because what ends up happening is the more censorship we have like this, the more we end up with people who only speak about the other side. That's what I was saying before. So basically, you look at COVID. There was a story. I don't know if you heard this. What was it? The Department of Natural Resources or something?
Yeah, I think so.
They told people to wear masks when they're on Zoom calls, even if they're home alone. Right. It's like, why? For show? Exactly. For show. How did 15 days to slow the spread turn into 15 times 10.133 days to slow the spread so far? Because anyone who says anything like, okay, was that enough? Shut down. The media won't allow it. Our culture doesn't allow it. I'm not sure it's on purpose, man, to be honest. To a certain degree, I think so. I think we're trapped in a hysterical mob running around with pitchforks, and you can't reason with anybody.
Do you think people who wear masks in their car driving are mostly doing it because they're actually scared, or because they're trying to signal
Both.
to people? Yeah, both.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I'm sure someone's seen me driving and I had my mask on. Because like when we go out and we're like a block out from the Walgreens or whatever, I just put, it's like gear up, mask on.
Just like that.
From the
it's
goggles,
that cool.
you know,
Yeah.
pull up the vest, you know, strap, all the good stuff.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
No, I just put the mask on because, you know, I put over my ears, and then like we're about to get out of the car in a
Get
few minutes.
comfortable in it.
But I've seen people driving on the highway with masks on. And then I'm just kind of like, no, I don't get that. I think Joe Rogan was ragging on it and he got made fun of for it.
I think I figured it out. I think people are just lazy and they just don't want to take it off between trips or whatever.
I think it's weird. I find it uncomfortable. I got no problem wearing them. But anyway, the point is not to get into a big mask conversation. Like, I got no problem wearing a mask. Someone sent me this really cool mask, got a beanie on it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
A little beanie on the mask.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
No. Well, I was going to reiterate my point to kind of get it back on track. It's that when you see 10 articles per day, the end is nigh, the end is nigh, the end is nigh. And then you see one article on the right pop up saying, perhaps the end is not so nigh as we first thought, banned. Then the only thing anybody sees is the end is nigh. Then the next day it's the end is nigher. And the next day it's the nighest. And this is it. This is the end. So now we're on day 152 since Donald Trump tweeted out 15 days to slow the spread. Because you can't challenge the mob. I think what we might be seeing is that these big social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, even YouTube, they're beholden to the mob the same as everybody else, not realizing they're the biggest players in directing it, you know? Mm-hmm. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.